Episode of Pops Reacts. We're gonna watch a conversation with Muhammad Ali, and I guess we're watching this on the back of doing the Andrew Tate video where we're talking about people converting to Islam, and then just how their approach is to it.
More specifically, the fact that you think Andrew Tate had a massive ego and that as a revert, he should be more humble. And I'm saying you've got to grow into the new suit effectively. But let's look at a bigger ego and see how he handled it.
Okay. Alright then, so I'm going to start the video, a conversation with Muhammad Ali. I think he was, 24 or 22 in this video.
Quite an athlete across from me. He used to be named Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr., and his business was prize fighting. As a fighter, he became, in my opinion, and certainly in his own, the greatest. At the age of 25 now, he calls himself Muhammad Ali, and he's
Quickly, was he the greatest?
Greatest what?
Was he the greatest boxer?
In so much as Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player, Muhammad Ali was the greatest boxer.
Okay, what in terms of?
Because he brought...
It was more than boxing.
Yeah, he
so he wasn't
a
the best
cultural icon,
economic
effect. Anywhere he went, money was running. You know, he
so
had an
he wasn't
impact.
the best boxer, but he was the most iconic.
No, he was technically a brilliant boxer.
Yeah. But he lost 4 times in his career.
Right. The losses are controversial because if you take a man and lock him up for 5 years in his prime,
True.
I think there's gonna be an effect.
Same thing happens to Tyson.
So had they not taken those years away from him, maybe the word great would actually have been changed and been a part of his name.
Yeah. Okay.
He's unemployed as a fighter. His title is gone, ripped away by various boxing commissions in the name of patriotism. He's been sentenced to 5 years in prison for refusing induction to the United States Army. 8 years ago, he stood on a podium in Rome. An American flag blowing in the breeze, the Star-Spangled Banner being played, he was given a gold medal as an Olympic champion. People thought, here's a kid with a bright future, and he was known as the so-called credit to his race. He had talent in the ring, and he had maybe more talent outside of it. He loved ballyhoo. He loved putting on the nation with a great put-on, that he was the greatest. He maybe was the greatest poet since Robert Frost. At least he had more of his poetry published, saying, Archie Moore must go in 4, things like that. But then the day after he became champion, he turned off a lot of the country by revealing that he was a convert to a religious sect known popularly as the Black Muslims and formerly as the Nation of Islam. And that antagonized a lot of the American people. So now his principal role is as a Muslim minister. He's had a varied career, an exciting, bizarre, celebrated career, and now perhaps a discouraging career. Or is it discouraging right now with this 5-year sentence?
No, sir. I would say what I'm doing now is more encouraging, and I get more out of it than boxing. Boxing was only for self-gain, just beating up one of my brothers or somebody else's brother for money, possibly hurting them for life, which I didn't intend.
Okay, so straight away, this is what I was talking about in the last video. The first thing that Andrew Tate associated Islam with was destruction, aggression. You understand? Muhammad Ali is coming like, bro, like, they want me to beat up my brother. That don't align with my... So again, and as a man who is not religious, this to me is more appealing so far, but we'll see.
Intend to do, and I'm lucky I never really did, but I would say I'm getting more pleasure out of lecturing at the various Muslim mosques, converting so-called Negroes.
You're a minister of the Muslim faith.
Yes, though. Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We preach his teachings throughout America to our people. And I enjoy this much better than boxing. For if I didn't, I would still be boxing. I chose this over boxing.
What about jail? Now, you're appealing, is that correct?
Oh, yes, jail. That could come up, and if I should lose the appeal, then I'll have to go to jail. And I'll be out of there in a few years.
Have you thought about jail, what it might mean? Have you talked about people who've been in jail 5 years?
Well, we are taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that black people actually have been in jail for 400 years. We've been here in America. But I don't worry about jail. If I believe in Allah, I believe in Elijah Muhammad as the messenger of God, and many great men have to go to jail. And so I don't pay no attention to it. If the time comes, I'll just have to go. Boys in Vietnam are dying for what they believe, and I can't get on them for dying for what they believe, so I'll just have to, and they're dying to free foreign people 10,000 miles away, so I'll just have to suffer so that the so-called Negroes could be free, so they could have idol and the image they can look up to that didn't sell them out.
Do you think you can do more for your people by going to jail?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes,
There's
sir.
a report that your manager, Herbert Muhammad...
So
That's what makes him
it's
great.
do you know what it is? It's like it's integrity. That's the difference. Like there's, and again, for me, the difference between Muhammad Ali is he did things that other people didn't do. In terms of for the culture, like really trying to make it prosper. Yeah, it's just different. It's different. It's hard to even. I can't even understand why that would be appealing to someone.
Your manager, Herbert Muhammad, advised you to enter the Army. Is that true?
No, sir. No, sir. He couldn't do nothing like that. Everything I do is of my own. He couldn't advise me to go to the Army. When did that report come out?
That report was in a New York paper.
It's selfless, and you think you could do that. So, what would you have done, basically? Would you have just been like, no, I ain't going?
Have you read my book?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Look, like I said, there is a line, and fitting in goes so far.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, like, their lines are closer to the target than others. But, Muhammad Ali had a line, and the line was, like I said, he didn't want to kill people. Even though he didn't mind punching their brains in, he didn't actually want to be out there shooting with people that he didn't know. Yes, it's easy to attach that to I'm doing it for my people. They never did nothing to us, but it's still for him. He doesn't want to do that, and he knows that he was an influencer. So more importantly,
So you're saying the intention still wouldn't have been.
Boy, he knows his intention, man. Like I said, he's part of a Nation of Islam, a growing organization. I don't think from the first day he attended the first meeting prior to taking Shahada, everybody knew who he was and the attention. And at that time, they had, FBI and CIA or whatever monitoring everybody, and everybody knew in terms of another Dave Chappelle joke just jumped in my head. Black people always know the law, so they know what's going on around them. So the minute it was all planned, discussed. So, intention. He had the intention, he had the support, and the assurances that it would be all right for him.
New York paper about 2 weeks ago.
No, I didn't. This is just rumors. They can't believe that I'm this strong. They thought they would weaken me and put fear in me by threatening me to go to jail and taking my earning power. And they won't let me work in America. The government won't let me leave America where I can work. And I'm getting stronger, and this shakes up a lot of people to see that I'm this strong. It also makes other so-called Negroes strong who are facing the same problems. And in this way, I think I can do more for my people. They've never had a big black man that just stood up and identified with the struggle of his people 1,000%. Once they can get them a white girl, a blonde, a brunette, or $100,000.
Right. This is the part that is saying there has never been a black man. There was a black man.
Marcus
Jack
Garvey.
Johnson used to do what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack Johnson was the
Oh,
first
you're about the
black
boxer.
heavyweight
Boxer,
champion.
yeah.
Jack Johnson, so it's what I said. Muhammad Ali got in trouble for Jack Johnson. Everybody's been getting in trouble for Jack Johnson ever since Jack Johnson, you understand? Kanye is getting in trouble for Jack Johnson. You understand? So here's what I'm saying. There's never been, there's been one. The only thing is just going into now. Jack Johnson's crime was related to women. You know, whereas his is, like I said, not going to war.
Mm-hmm.
$1,000 home show on Broadway. Usually, every Negro watching this show now will tell you that you can't talk to them. They're too big to be with their own people. They go marry other than their own kind. And I'm so happy and proud to become great in boxing, to become the greatest one that ever lived. The greatest.
You're still the greatest.
Yes, sir. The greatest boxer that ever lived. I'm the first one that they had to take a title from in the history of all of the red, white, and blue American title. I'm the first one that they tried to make the world believe that wasn't the champion, and that never has been beaten.
What about this title now, Ali? If you're in jail 5 years, can you come back and be the champion?
Well, I don't know. I'm not really worrying about boxing. The more I'm in the spiritual works that Elijah Muhammad preaches, preaching the word of Allah, God, I forget about sports. It's not in my blood. I don't eat rare steaks no more. They make you vicious. I just eat lamb now and fish, holy foods, and this keeps me from being vicious feeling, and I really don't miss it. I have nothing else to gain. I beat the best German they had to offer, the best that Canada had to offer, England, the best that America had to offer, two-time United States Golden Glove champion, AAU champion twice, Olympic gold medal winner, defended the title 9 times, predicted the rounds on my opponents, wrote poems in poetic fashion how they would fall, and I cannot go no farther in sports. And another thing I like to say, I'm the only black man that black people can now say has a champion, I would say Marciano, that's undefeated and retired off.
That's true.
So
That's
Joe
true.
Louis came back. He let the people down. He got beat, and Sugar Ray was a black pride, and they got him beat up. But I'm the first one that
So
they
you
never
think you
could
might
get.
just stay undefeated?
Yes,
Is there
sir.
a conflict now? You say, and I certainly believe you and have been with you for long enough to know that you're very sincere in your beliefs, that you're a man of God now, a minister. Is there a conflict between that and being a prize fighter?
Well, yes, we don't believe in
A man of
sports.
peace.
We don't believe in sports, and we
The
don't
Muslims you're speaking of.
Right. We don't consider boxing being violent. It's just a sport.
So, Muslims don't believe in sport. I know there's a thing with music. Isn't like music's haram?
Now there's the mean there, and then there's the Muslim there, right? So there was a joke in response, but I'm not gonna crack it. Yeah, every gang's got its rules, innit? Simple as that. Every gang's got its rules. So a bit of this, a bit of that. Like every chef has their own seasoning and the way they apply it. And that's the same with every other gang on the planet. They will have their rules and regulations. So, yes, he
But
was
does it
passing
say that
law
in the Quran, or is that like a cultural thing? It says it in the Quran.
that no sports.
Well, I guess it wouldn't have been called sports, though, would it? Like,
Well,
no sports.
The inference is that you do what you do, but you try to maintain a godly
Okay.
stay in a sense of God whilst you're doing everything you're doing, so you're always just and honest and true.
Yeah, like
And
focus.
like you'll see sometimes where people have the beads and they're saying Arabic words repeatedly, and they do it all day. They just do it on autopilot, and this is continual worship. So people do it differently, and your experience, where you're coming from, and your habits, what become habits, you do them until them become habits. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you don't look right. There's a man's going jail. Blood can say.
It's nothing. Our intention is not to kill. All we use is our fist, and they're padded. We have referees, doctors, and judges at ringside. The intention is to beat the man, outpoint him. And I've been criticized for not hurting men, and been criticized for carrying them because I don't like to hurt nobody. I showed all this in my fights. But if I did fight again, the only reason was to get out of debt. This is the only way that I have to make the necessary money to pay my draft lawyers, which I owe $280,000 that I spent in the
$280,000 for your appeals and your trials and so
fighting
on.
for justice cost me that much. And then other things, back alimony to the wife, and I can't pay nobody now because I'm not allowed to work and I'm out the country. So if I did fight, it'll be for those reasons. But just boxing itself, I could box tomorrow if I want to. I could just go to the gymnasium and box, but it's the money.
3 years ago, when we were coming on the way from Boston in Big Red, your great bus with Boudini, Brown, Otis 5X was driving. We had quite a gang. You said to us, Whitey's getting the back of the...
See what I mean? Again, it's not... There's like an ego in the truth and in saying like, I know I can go and box and make money in it. So that's like the ego side of it. But then again, in the same breath, it's kind of like, yeah, but it's not to be going in just spending it on stupidness and sending 18-year-old girls text messages about your car engines and things like that, you get me? That's the difference. Like, I got bills to pay. So...
Real talk. But the difference again, he's a boxer and my man is a social media influencer. He's always in that mode. As soon as the camera comes on, he kicks into that mode, and he has to develop a new persona.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali, again, he's a boxer. He's not always a clown. He switches from mode to mode. He was just, good at great people skills. Great
back of the bus, which we dutifully did. And we had a lot of fun. And the last fight, just even though you had all this on your mind and all the pressure, you were with Boudini and you put on the Dracula masks with Saria, one of your trainers. And we had a great time up there. And people who knew you, and you've had a lot of criticism in the press, but people who lived with you and knew you, knew what kind of person you were, and you enjoyed being champion. The people being around you and the notoriety and the celebrity, you enjoyed that. Do you miss that now?
No. As I said, I can't go no higher in boxing. There's no one I could beat who could get me more praise than being a boxer. I'm always around people. I'm still around people every day. I'm around 6 of them traveling with me today. Every city I go to, people are waiting for me. I just left college here.
MIT
University.
And you were well received by a predominantly white audience.
Yes, everywhere I go. We was up at Fairleigh Dickinson in New York, C.W. Post, Iona University, Canisius University, and Penn State and Morgan State College and Princeton.
You like to be with people.
Oh,
there's no
yes.
doubt
So,
about
by me not boxing didn't take nothing away from me as far as fame is concerned or people. I can always hold my head high. I can always put on a necktie, and I can talk. Most boxers, you bring them on this show now, even the ones fighting, they couldn't talk like I'm talking now.
Well, nobody can talk like you can talk.
Yeah, so I have lots to fall back on, so I can't just ask the question in long. I just can't miss boxing.
Do you remember, Ali, that night when we were on the bus? We were in Yulee, Florida. We stopped to get some food. It was a Jim Crow diner. They threw Boudini out, and you didn't go in.
I told him not to go at first. I told him not to go because I can tell. I went in first, and the man said something about we don't serve Negroes. I said, yes, sir, I'm sorry. And I went because we who are Muslims don't believe in forcing our places self.
And you said to Boudini that night, you said, you're following Martin Luther King and people like that, and you're wrong. Did you not?
No, I don't remember saying that. And I didn't mention him. I'm sure I didn't. I said.
But I think you said
that-
something about that wasn't the way to go about it. for
Well,
the
I
Negro,
said if
the
the
way-
man don't want you there, and this is his restaurant, and if he hates you that much to put you out or to shoot his own white brother to keep you out, there's a possibility that vanilla milkshake you want, when he go back to fix it, he could, spit in it. And I'm sure if somebody spit in the milkshake and mix it up, you couldn't see it. And I don't see why you have to be sick mentally to want to force yourself into places where you're not wanted. You see the man hate you. You see they don't want you down here. I want you to leave him alone. We're going somewhere else. He said, no, I'm going in. I'm an American. I'm American. I got a right to go. Oh, I said, well, come on out. I bet you I'll come out with what I want. 5 minutes later, he came out with nothing. He said, treat me like that. I'm a man. I said, I told you, leave the people alone. They didn't want you. You just make yourself look like a fool. So we went on down the street, and another white...
Facts that isn't. Because like obviously we talk about like being religious or getting married. Because I have like marriage in one hand. I have like a thing understand and say yeah I want to get married, but people want to get married in church.
Mm.
And it's like, when I say this, it's like, and this is just my opinion, it's like when I know people, like gay people want to get married in church, and I feel like, why would you want to get married in church, man? Like, if the church is saying that they don't want you to get married in there, you understand? It's the same kind of thing, innit? It's weird, but obviously I don't know nothing about it. Just saying that's just my thought process.
That is society, though, innit?
It's my thought process, but obviously that could be a skewed.
The new mafia system that is, innit? Like I said, it starts here and it's just massive. If you say this, think that, all these things can happen to you. Make them,
Yeah, it's true.
down the street, another white
Finally
restaurant.
got some
We could eat
Augusta,
here.
Georgia.
Right,
Yeah,
we could eat here.
Yeah. But tell us about the Muslims now. As I said, the day after you won, you remember that very well. Sonny Liston, the big old bear, as you call him, sat in his corner, quit to you. You became champion of the world. Everybody thought this is a refreshing young man.
I always wondered what was his trainer talking about. I'll let you finish right after this. You know what his trainer was talking about when Liston sat on the stool?
No.
He said, Sonny, get up, the bell rung. Sonny said, my mama didn't raise no fool. I'm staying right here on my stool.
You got that poetry still going.
What was you going to say?
No, I was going to say that the next day, Ali, when everybody was saying the stereotype thing, here's a refreshing young man, we
Good
found
boy.
out you were a Muslim, and people got scared.
I got bad all of a sudden, yeah.
People got scared,
I
and
don't
you got
know.
bad all of a sudden, right,
I
overnight.
was a good boy when I was hollering, I am the greatest. I cannot be beat. I am pretty. I'm the king. He. I was a good boy. But when I said I'm a Muslim, my religion is Islam, what's wrong with that? You have 600 million Muslims on earth, and Muslim only mean one who submits entirely to the will of God, Allah, and Islam only means peace, entire submission to God, and we don't believe in forcing ourselves on
Do you hate
white
the
people.
whites?
No, sir, we don't hate
Why
the
why
whites.
has that grown up, do you suppose, that the
No,
Muslims
this is
are a
false
hate
propaganda
white
to scare Negroes, to keep them from coming, because Negroes by nature love their enemy. They pray for those who use them. Negroes by nature don't hate nobody. And so if they can make people think that we're a hate group, that'll frighten them. But we don't hate white people. We know white people. We know the history of white people. For an example, if a tiger broke in this room now, I would beat you getting out. If a rattlesnake broke in here, I'd beat you getting off of this stage. I don't hate rattlesnakes. I don't hate tigers. I just know I can't get along with them. After learning the nature of the snake and the tiger, I don't want to try to eat with him or sleep with him because I know that he might bite me. So now that
You don't think that we can ever get along? I think that was your point with Martin Luther King.
I know
when you
whites and blacks cannot get along. This is nature. It's getting worse every day. The latest government fact-finding committee just said that things are becoming to be separate, just two societies, black and white. That's what we've been telling you, separation. Now the government admits that that's coming. White women have got gun clubs all over the country. Learn how to shoot the black targets. Understand they're making guns that are shooting.
What do you think in this? So obviously, when was it? 68. So, do you think what he's saying is correct, and do you think it's the same now, or was it just of the time? Because this is coming off the back of what? This is coming off the back of segregation. This is when America's
again,
just segregation's just finished, then.
Like me say, 50s. Let's place this 50s. 50s, 60s.
68.
Early
This is 68.
60s, right? It's 68.
68, yeah.
Right. So, but that whole area, like me say, was the emergence of civil rights generally in it. So it wasn't just Nation of Islam and all. It was Dr. King and the emergence of Dr. King and the other people who was there, rising with Dr. King as well. That
Yeah.
not famous in the history books, but it was the period and what was happening in America for blacks. You know, them still had a semblance of Black Wall Street and successful black people. Americans used to dress and go. It wasn't no gang banging society.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a different society. It was very rural or very city, I would imagine, you know, the distinction. Poor neighborhoods is poor neighborhoods. But blacks weren't always in poor neighborhoods. Them raised neighborhoods until the government find a way to stop that happening.
Got burnt down, didn't it? Like Wall Street.
Well,
the whole
Wall
place.
Street got burned down, but there were other places and other schemes. But in terms of the impact, like me say, Atlanta is emerging like a mega black structure, right, in these days as well. So
Yeah, Atlanta's massive.
black people make money, man. America built on black people money.
Guns that'll shoot through brick walls just to get Negroes, and
Do
they.
you believe that?
I know it. I see it. Mayor Daley on Chicago, I think, somebody ordered helicopters or something just with these rats and rotating machine guns on them, and they breeding dogs that just attack black people. All kind of spray and mist and banana slick and.
Well, what are you
and-
going to do now as one of the prominent black persons and a
Teach
person
'em
who
all.
can be a leader and that you
I'm
look
not
up
gonna be
to?
a
What
leader,
is your
but
role in this
I can't
perhaps
be a-
civil
I
war, as people call it?
Can't be a leader, but I can tell them about the leader. All I can tell them is to join on to their own kind, accept their own kind, join on to the true religion, which is Islam, join on to the Muslim teachings, which is taught to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the honest black man preaching the truth to black people. Clean up your own neighborhoods, do something for yourself, quit
has
begging
this
to
religion
integrate
done
and
for you?
beg to separate.
Ali.
Well, if number one, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the religion of Islam has given me a beautiful name, Muhammad Ali, which is connecting me with some 56 Muslim countries. I have 56 government invitations. This is why Washington won't let me go to Japan to fight, because the prosecuting attorney there came to Houston and told the judge that if we let this man leave, he might not come back because he has 600 million Muslim brothers that would gladly make him a millionaire fugitive. So this is what it's done to me, where I used to try to get love of whites and beg to be with whites, and now I can go sit with kings in Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Pakistan, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia. This has taught me a knowledge of myself, taught me to love and respect my own people, taught me to marry and my own women, all great Negroes.
But you're obviously not uncomfortable with whites. I don't think you are.
I'm uncomfortable.
Are you
with
uncomfortable with
anybody.
me right now?
No, I'm comfortable. I'm real comfortable with you. Of course, I know how far to go with you. I'm not going to go home with you now and flirt with your daughter. I'm not going to try to push you out of your suburb. I integrate so far. See, we don't. That's why I like Governor Wallace. He tells the truth about
You
things
like
like
George
that.
Wallace?
Yes, sir. That truth he tells, we like. He tells the truth.
You believe that?
I see him telling the truth.
You don't believe he's been a tough influence in this country and a bad influence?
Well, I don't agree with everything nobody say, but I like what he say when he says that Negroes shouldn't force itself into white neighborhoods, and white people shouldn't have to move out of the neighborhoods just because one Negro comes. If they don't want to sell the house to him, he shouldn't, and that makes sense. If a person don't want you, why are you going to push yourself on him? And Wallace is admitting that this ain't right, and let the people do what they want to do. They need local government where they can decide what they want to do in their own community, and just don't make some northern so-called liberal come in and bust the neighborhood up, and they all have to pack up and go somewhere else and always be
What would you say
uncomfortable.
for your people? They're living in
Nah, I wasn't thinking that. But
That cue missed.
But he said a few of the same things on it. That and again that was my point. So when you say liberal in it, that means that because I don't agree with you, you're trying to determine me as being a liberal. Whereas I could agree with something completely he says, but not with something else. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well,
Cool.
in this instance,
It's like,
him
cool, 'cause I lost
painting out
myself.
the liberals, the people who coming in and making change in the community, are the liberals, not him, you know.
But he says the same thing, ain't it? Like he said before, get up, clean up your own neighborhoods. You've got to do stuff. So it's the same thing, that's what I'm saying, as Andrew Tate was saying. So it's not that the message is bad, it's how it's packaged is bad.
They're living in deplorable conditions in Chicago now. They're living in terrible conditions in Chicago.
This is
now.
all over the world living in terrible conditions. This is why Elijah Muhammad teaches us that they need some land of their own, where they can produce and build their own homes, schools, factories, and hospitals, since they're suffering and been turned away from many of whites, and get some land, since we helped build America to be fit to the richest states on the planet, fought in all American wars to help maintain and uphold the government. Why not should we have some of the land where we can build and construct? Negroes are doctors, Negroes are lawyers, physicians, mechanics, plumbers, electricians. Why not can we go somewhere now and build a future for our children such as other people? Why should we just remain beggars and employees? Why not can we go and a job?
But do you think this could happen? In other words, you want some land in the United States.
Now Elijah Muhammad teaches us that God told him, not me, that this land should be here or elsewhere, just like all people. No people can be free and independent without land. No people can be free if they can't feed themselves. No people can be free if they don't clothe themselves. Negroes are 22 million people, Elijah Muhammad teaches us. We don't make shoestrings. 22 million people and don't have a toothpick factory. 22 million people, if you white people closed the grocery stores tomorrow, we would starve to death.
But you have your own stores in the Muslim community.
Elijah Muhammad's buying hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland throughout the country, canning up and food and taking it to supermarkets and his restaurants that he's building all over the country. He's got his own.
Did he do that?
No.
That Allah bought Elijah Muhammad.
I think so. I don't think it was money mismanagement that became an issue in Nation of Islam. It was more the feeding on the population. You know, black men and young kids. It wasn't that they were raising money and people couldn't see where it was going. They had programs and they had lots of stuff going on in America, just like the Panthers.
Yeah.
They just carried on stuff that other organizations were doing as well.
Colleges, universities. He's on radio worldwide now, national in America. He's on TV in Washington. He prints 2 million newspapers a week called Muhammad Speaks.
Yes, we've seen it.
And he's got mosques and temples all over the country, and he is the black man for black people to follow. He's not just asking for a job. He's not just asking for a house in a white neighborhood. This is nothing. See, Negroes are actually fighting for equality with the white man's dog. You may say, why? Well, when they say we want open housing, they still not getting nothing the dog ain't got. The dog sleeps in the house with white people, in the bed, many of them. And Negroes want to ride on the best transportation up front with the white people. The dogs do better than that. He ride right in the front seat. I see him when the sun's shining. Dogs ride right in the front seat of the car. And Negroes, they want to eat the white man restaurant and this and that. Still, the dogs eat out the same plate. I see this. So in reality, the Negro's not fighting for equality with the white man. He's fighting for equality with the white man's dog. To be equal with the man, he needs some airports. He needs some train stations, some television companies, some water plants. He needs some farmland.
It's going to be hard to get, though, isn't it?
And not if he has some land of his own.
He has some land.
And if the white man gave him justice and repaid him for building up this country and working 310 years.
Some people like Stokely Carmichael, Rap Brown, say that the white man will not do this, though. And that they have to be militant. They are militant. I think, probably know these men, do you not?
I know them good. We would look like fools trying to be valiant against the most powerful military country on earth. We would look like bulls running down a railroad track head on into a locomotive train. You might say, look at that brave bull, but when that bull come head on with that train, all he will have left as his monument is his blood and his flesh on the track. See, we can't be powerful against the man who makes the bullets, who makes the guns. We look like fools with a pop gun hiding on a roof shooting at the army. If every Negro had a machine gun, a tank, a bazooka, a year's round of ammunition, and a good hideout, we wouldn't have a chance because we don't control no food. After 2 or 3 days, we'd be hungry. For us to be violent against America, we would have to have superior weapons than America, and we don't have the factories nor the earth to dig the material to manufacture the weapons. And if we would get the weapons, we would have to get them from
you. Don't agree with
and I'm sure you are not going to give Negroes weapons to shoot you with. So I'm not here to to talk, say I don't agree with Stokely, I don't agree with Rap Brown, I don't agree with the late Martin Luther King. We're all black people who are fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. Everybody have their approach. There's a war going on in Vietnam. One man fights from the air, one man fights from the land, one man fights from on top of the water, one man fights in the submarine under the water, one man comes from, he's a secret service man or a spy. They're all fighting the same common enemies, they say, the North Vietnamese people, but they have different approaches. Negroes have different approaches for their freedom. One man believes in integrating. One day we all be white, he say. Look like white people after 200 years. One believes it.
Can you remember this?
This specific interview.
This time, like this period of time, or would you have been too young?
You mean like it was today?
Well, like it was.
That's what life feels like to me every day, Aaron. Honest to God, the way he talks is how I see life. You must see it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not
100%,
something
100%,
that
100%.
I put on. It's actually how it is.
No.
You know, everything he says, it doesn't strike a chord with me. Is me.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, you're definitely.
You understand? So,
Definitely.
and I don't know, it's an icon from my time. It's, you know, a people was going through it. The privileges that young people, the younger ones than you, but you lot
Yeah.
gained was at the cost of us. No.
But that's the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and this is what
That's the way it should be.
taken for granted, and everybody just says that's how it was and stuff. But
It's not taken for, but it depends how you mean it's taken for granted.
Well, in general conversation, let me say, there is no Black History Museum chronicling we journey in England and keeping records and anything. So there's no discussion.
But how do we? So this is the thing. Ain't it? So first of all, when we say black, what's black? Black Caribbean, Black African, Black, Brown, Asian. So when we wanna,
That's the first problem. If you don't know, you don't know.
no. So this is what I'm asking you now. Innit? So no. Listen. So when you've got black, so what I'm saying is you need the infrastructure to build them things. And so what he's saying is correct.
Yeah.
Now, if we haven't got the leaders, or our leaders are being marginalized or silenced, or if you want to say, because it's cannon fodder, and it's like you can see, it's weird. Like life's like an algorithm, and it's the easiest way to say it. I see this now. So if we do work, me and Greg do a lot of work in the black community, do a lot of things about spreading voices, and it. Let's say I drop a post or something about it onto socials where I've got thousands of people on there. It don't get no, like, it's just kind of like it's invisible, in it. But you know, when you do something about some kind of just nonsense, it will get so much. So yeah, I can't remember what was saying with
the
that.
mastery then of being able to do your serious things in a manner that make them sound like it's trivial. So
Yeah, it
is
is
attraction.
definitely.
But if you're aware of it, then you can adapt. And if you're not aware of it, you're in trouble.
But I think it's yeah. Defo.
No, trust
All right,
me.
go on. Let's have a look. Let's keep going.
Education and politics will solve it. One believes shooting and looting and burning up the country will solve it. One man believes integration will solve it. And we believe separation somewhere to ourselves will solve it. So we're not here to talk about these fellows. The same dog that bit them bit me and is biting me. But we just don't agree with their approach to the freedom. But we all are for them if they are sincere in their way. And one day we hope that they will all soon recognize the true leader, Elijah Muhammad, and will all soon be Muslims.
What do you think will happen? Elijah Muhammad is a very old man. One day he must die. Like
He
we
will
all
die.
do.
One day
What do
he'll
you
die.
think will happen to your group?
Well, when he
Your
dies,
sect.
we will be in heaven. We'll be in the hereafter on earth. America will be destroyed, and this will all be over. The Negroes with America will go down with America, and Allah.
When he dies.
When he dies, we will be free. His work will be over, and we have a few just around the corner. We don't have a lot of more years here in America.
Tell us about
Do you think the Nation of Islam idolize Elijah Muhammad?
Yeah. but it's not idolized. It's when you take Shahada, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Nation of Islam see Elijah Muhammad as Prophet Muhammad.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
their prophet in their tongue.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
Okay.
them idolize him.
So is that
because-
one of the distinctions then to be like the Nation of Islam to like
compared
like,
to
like
Muslims?
Sunni and Shia Muslims that they believe
Well,
that
they're not
Allah-
comparable. There's no comparison between Islam and Nation of Islam except the name Islam, because Nation of Islam doesn't use the Quran, doesn't have a Bible, its own kind of thing. It's not the Quran from Saudi or anything. Whereas lots of people who go to Nation of Islam do start to learn Arabic and open to the benefits and will step across and take Shahada and become proper Muslims. So
Okay.
lots of great black Muslims used to be Nation of Islam and then transcend
to-
to the full thing.
Okay.
But
Okay.
this was like, again, black liberation,
Mm-hmm.
not just religion.
All right, I bear a lot of money that I make after taxes. I make a little money. Like if I make $1,500 in speaking engagement, I give the government that 30%. Then I take what's left of mine. I don't put in the banks because banks might go broke or they might get robbed. And I just take my money and I hide it here and hide it there and tell her where the hideouts are.
Well, you're not
And
too
they-
worried. Now, Bill Russell, whom you know, of course, who coaches the Boston Celtics here, I said to him 2 years ago, I said, it's a shame that this boy, who's such an attractive boy and such a fine guy and a good fighter, may wind up broke, like Joe Louis. And he said, well, that just shows that you don't understand. And he said, you just don't understand that that's why we admire him so, is it because he's ready to give up everything for his
Well,
religion
yeah, I haven't
go around and do this. And
What was that, sorry?
I said he's talking about Bill Russell. Bill Russell from Boston Celtics.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, the basketballer.
Yeah,
Well, what happened to Bill Russell?
he was involved in civil rights and these things at the time, and it so
The same thing.
he was
Locked
just
him up.
mentioning Bill Russell and some other people are all, trying to take action against it or defend it or come up with a strategy or something.
It's weird, and it. Do you know? Conspiracies. I think it's crazy. You know, earlier when you compared Ali to Michael Jordan, the reason why I said I thought that was like a strange comparison is because Ali had a voice in it, whereas Michael Jordan chose not to have a voice. Not saying he weren't doing things like privately or nothing, because you don't know any, but he never. Exactly, just the logo in the end. It's different, isn't it? That's what I'm saying, man. You have to look at it, like I said, so when we're talking about religion as well.
But they've got to pull from the top of the tree when they're going to set an example. As
What do you
with
mean?
Kanye and Kyrie,
Oh, yeah, Kanye and Kyrie.
they pick a high-hanging fruit
Mm-hmm.
to mess about with, and so Ali was the highest hanging fruit.
Yeah,
And that's what
yeah,
they
yeah.
say.
But so
Is-
was Jordan, innit? Jordan was the
Yeah,
highest.
but what happened with Jordan that Jordan could have championed that he didn't?
What do you mean? What, at the time? You
Yeah.
don't think there was what? So what, when was it? The 90s? So isn't that like the time when people were rioting? That was the 90s, isn't it? You had the riots in the 60s. You had the riots in the 90s in America. Going on for racial. But Jordan
Too young
chose not
then,
to, innit? He was
90s,
famous. He was famous for saying
There
like
weren't
that
really any.
sportsmen shouldn't really get involved in politics. He's just there to.
Nothing happened for him to get involved in, though. There's nothing like he can say, look, Michael should have done this and he didn't. Because there was nothing happening at the time. It was, hip hop and the rise of the middle class American young rapper. turned
Yeah, I
into this
guess.
And that Michael Jordan was on the crest of the new marketing and branding monster. Nike and these things. So there wasn't really local issues being tackled in the traditional ways. By the time Michael came, this was the end of civil and
Civil rights movement.
all them kind of things. This is just straight capitalism.
Mhm.
You know, buying
Yeah, I
shoes.
get
Then
that, I get
kids
that.
start getting murdered for shoes, for Michael shoes. And he didn't come out and say anything on that again. But how big was that problem really? You know, they've hyped it up on there. But how many kids
What, the
actually
shoes?
got killed for Air Jordans?
Yeah, I guess.
People thief people's things. Yeah, it's just marketing, I think.
Yeah, but like I said, I think it was just even like black political issues. I know you're saying that there wasn't as bad as, because it wasn't. You are right. It was that kind of crest of wave where black people were becoming middle class, because it was like OJ and that in it. So it was basically new money and it real money. So yeah, I get that. But I just feel like that's the main difference in the two, innit? I guess for me.
Yeah, Michael. like I
Michael
said,
doesn't really transcend basketball.
No,
Whereas
it's-
Ali transcends boxing. That's the difference. Because like you said, it's more civil rights, it's black justice, it's empowerment. Whereas Jordan was just a great
black
basketball
power.
player.
No, well, it's black power. You see, Jordan's contribution cannot be diminished by his, whilst he hasn't
Contribution to what though? The culture.
excellence.
Okay. Yeah.
Achievement. Again, nobody before him got what he got.
Yeah, but that's just sports, isn't it? Like that's when we're talking about
Well, this is what
that's
got
like
to be
we're talking about
recognised.
idolizing.
This is what me say. Michael Jordan was, like the modern football player. From he was at school, he was groomed and mollycoddled and
Yeah.
all the way in. It wasn't like the basketball players before went Rocker Park and they just buck up a rough man who's just come out of jail and yo, you look good. You understand? Michael was part of like, Sigma Alpha Pi, this and all that business as well, you understand? Like LeBron, them man, there's some next level things are going.
Yeah, definitely. But
So-
when we're talking about Ali,
Well, Ali wasn't in none of them thing. He was just a black man. The religion thing is fine, but his act was mega.
do you think the path he chose to take, well, it clearly did actually. I was going to say, did it have a negative impact on his career? Well, it did, didn't it? Of course it did. He went to jail for 5 years because of it. And then, like you said, he come back and he was never the same.
Yeah, he couldn't be the same. Ultimately, I think the way him ended up was as a result, of just not the man who talked so much couldn't talk at the end. That's kind of weird shit, but that's the way the world works these days, isn't it? Why didn't he have a gangrene in his leg or something like that? You get me? Why didn't he have Bob Marley's toe? Why is it that for a man who was a lyricist, he couldn't speak in the end? And I say, yo, this is where conspiracy theories have to come from. But yeah, he's a great one. One of my all-time heroes. Like I said, we don't need to watch no more. I think everybody